On the night of April 14, 1912, the Titanic moved across the North Atlantic under a sky filled with stars. The ocean was calm, the air was cold, and the largest passenger ship in the world seemed unstoppable. Inside, passengers were dining, talking, reading, and preparing for bed. For many of them, this was not a night of danger. It was the middle of a luxurious voyage to a new life. But somewhere ahead, hidden in the darkness, an iceberg waited in the ship's path. Within a few hours, the vessel called Unsinkable would disappear beneath the freezing ocean. This is Titanic's final night, reconstructed with AI, not as a myth, but as a living world of people, machines, choices, mistakes, and moments that would soon become history. Titanic was more than a ship. To the public, it was a symbol of modern engineering, wealth, speed, and confidence. It was a floating city crossing one of the most dangerous oceans on Earth. In first class, passengers walked through grand interiors built to resemble the finest hotels in Europe. Wood, glass, carpets, and electric light made the ship feel safe, modern, and almost impossible to imagine sinking. But Titanic also carried hundreds of third-class passengers. Many were immigrants leaving Europe behind, hoping to begin new lives in America. Their journey was filled with uncertainty, but also hope. Far below the passenger decks, stokers and engineers kept the ship alive. Coal fed the furnaces, steam drove the engines. The luxury above depended on heat, noise, sweat, and machinery below. In the wireless room, operators sent and received messages across the ocean. Some were passenger messages, others were warnings from nearby ships about ice in the North Atlantic. On the bridge, officers watched the sea ahead. The night was clear, but moonless. The water was unusually calm, making icebergs harder to see because there were no waves breaking at their base. Titanic continued forward through the darkness. The ocean looked almost peaceful, but calm water can be deceptive. Without moonlight and without surf, danger could blend into the horizon. Passengers on deck felt the cold Atlantic air. Some enjoyed the quiet, others had already gone inside. Nothing about the evening clearly announced that the ship was approaching its final hours. High above the bow, the lookouts stared into the blackness. Their job was simple and terrifying: find danger before the ship reached it. But in that darkness, even a giant iceberg could appear too late. Ice warnings had reached Titanic throughout the day. They did not mean disaster was certain, but they did mean the ship was entering a region where caution mattered. Other vessels had seen ice nearby. Messages crossed the wireless network, warning of field ice and bergs. But on Titanic, the voyage continued through the cold night. The officers knew the North Atlantic could be dangerous. Yet the ship was powerful, the night was clear, and the confidence of the age was strong. Technology seemed to promise control. Inside the lounges, the mood remained calm. Passengers talked, smoked, played cards, and ended their evening. The disaster for them had not yet begun. The ship still felt like the safest place in the world. Corridors grew quieter as the night deepened. Stewards moved softly. Cabin doors closed. Families slept. Above them, the ship continued forward into darkness. Then, shortly before midnight, the lookouts saw something ahead. A dark shape rose from the sea. The warning was sent to the bridge. Iceberg, right ahead. The crew reacted immediately. Orders were given. The ship began to turn. But Titanic was enormous, moving fast, and the distance was short. The question was no longer whether danger existed, but whether there was time. The iceberg did not strike like an explosion. It scraped along the starboard side, opening damage below the waterline. To some passengers, the impact felt strangely gentle. To the ship, it was fatal. On deck, pieces of ice appeared. Some passengers laughed or picked them up, not yet understanding what had happened below. The seriousness of the collision was still hidden inside the ship. Below deck, seawater began entering the forward compartments. The damage spread across multiple sections. Titanic was designed to survive some flooding, but not this much. Engineers and crew saw the truth before most passengers did. Water was rising. Compartments were filling. The ship was wounded in a way that could not be repaired at sea. When the calculations became clear, the conclusion was devastating. Titanic would sink. The question was not if, but how long it would take, and how many people could be saved. On deck, the lifeboats were prepared. Many passengers still did not believe the ship was truly in danger. Some thought it was safer to stay aboard than enter a small boat over a black, freezing ocean. Stewards moved through the corridors, asking passengers to dress warmly and put on life belts. Confusion spread slowly. Sleepy people stepped from cabins into a disaster they could barely understand. The first lifeboats were lowered into the darkness. Some left with empty seats. Fear, uncertainty, class divisions, and disbelief all shaped the decisions made in those critical minutes. Families were forced into choices no one should face. Women and children were called forward. Some men stepped back. Some passengers obeyed. Others hesitated, still unable to accept that Titanic was dying. The musicians continued to play as the night grew colder. Their music did not stop the disaster, but it became one of the most haunting symbols of calm in the face of catastrophe. As water filled the bow, Titanic's front end sank lower. The angle of the deck increased. The ship that had seemed immovable now tilted toward the ocean. Inside, corridors flooded. Staircases disappeared underwater. Rooms that had been warm and bright only hours earlier became dark, cold, and abandoned. In the final minutes, the stern rose high above the sea. People moved toward the highest point left. The lights still burned for a time, making the scene even more unreal. Then the ship was gone. The largest passenger liner in the world vanished beneath the Atlantic, leaving lifeboats, wreckage, cold water, and silence behind. After the sinking, the ocean became quiet again. Lifeboats drifted under the stars. Survivors waited in the cold, listening for voices that slowly faded into the night. Those who survived carried the memory forever. They had watched a symbol of human confidence break apart in a place where help was hours away. Before dawn, rescue came. The lights of another ship appeared on the horizon. For the people in the lifeboats, it meant survival. For hundreds of others, it came too late. Today, Titanic rests deep beneath the ocean. Its wreck is not only a ruin of steel, it is a reminder of ambition, class, technology, and the limits of human certainty. The ship began its final night as a world of light, music, engines, and hope. By morning, it had become one of the most famous tragedies in modern history. Titanic still haunts us because it was not only a disaster at sea, it was a warning. Even the greatest machines are fragile when confidence becomes stronger than caution.